Good morning. Welcome to Think and Grow Rich Daily Hangout. This is Sandy Levesque, and I hope you're well. I'm just going to check that the information is okay in the Facebook group because no one is here yet, as you can see, and that's quite unusual. Though I'm not sure anyone can actually join me today. Oh, hi Benjamin. You say that you're not sure you can join. You'll see. I can't remember if Glenn was going to be here or not. So if you're watching, you're very welcome to come into the Hangout. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit lonely. But I'm going to continue anyway. So this Hangout is really designed to help everyone who watches it, whether you're watching live or you're like most people watch the recording. Then I just hope this really helps you to get a dose of prosperity consciousness. And what does that mean? That to me, that means starting to think a bit differently from how the majority of people in society think. Like 95% of people are just basically getting by or have this very sort of limited view of what's possible on Earth. And the book Napoleon Hill wrote, Think and Grow Rich, has been one of the biggest bestsellers ever. And I believe that's because for people who know that doesn't have to be like that, this book is like an amazing resource to help you start to create that. And I can't tell you how many people I've met who are doing amazing things and living lives that most people just don't really think is possible, who attribute a lot of their success to the book Think and Grow Rich, over 100 years later. And that's actually what got me reading it and inspired me eventually to do this Hangout. So, well done for choosing to watch this or tune in or be part of the Facebook group, because I know that since we started doing this in March, my own prosperity consciousness has just continued to grow every single day. So today we're reading from the book. If you've been following the last few weeks, we've been reading from lecture notes. We got to the end of our notes, so we're actually going back to the book, and I'm really excited actually because even if you've read a book once or twice, you always get something new the second time or the third time you read it. And I know people who've read this book, every all the time for many years. Bob Proctor, hugely inspiring speaker and author, and a guy who helps a lot of people change their money reality. He's read this book, I think, every day for 50 years. I think I'm excited that we're reading from it. So basically, let me just screen share. And I really hope that I've posted the correct links, and it's just going to check in the Facebook group in case I didn't. Okay, so I'm just posting the link like this, the link again, just to be sure, because sometimes I post the wrong one. Okay, so there's this new link in the comments if you're trying to get in and you can't get in. But regardless, let's start with the reading. So I'll just share my screen. All right, so reading actually from Think and Grow Rich. And if you come into the Hangout while I'm reading, I probably won't see you because I'll be reading. So hello in advance. Okay, so I'm going to read the preface because it's really interesting actually, and then we'll get into the book. So I'm just going to have a drink first. We had huge storms here in France where I am this morning, massive ones, the kind where you're sort of going, ah, because the lightning is making so much noise. And I was just checking the news to see if there was any damage anywhere, but it seems to be okay. So pretty relieved. Okay, so let's go with the book. So in every chapter of this book, mention has been made of the money-making secret which has made fortunes for more than 500 exceedingly wealthy people whom I have carefully analyzed over a long period of years. The secret was brought to my attention by Andrew Carnegie more than a century ago. The canny, lovable old Scotsman carelessly tossed it into my mind when I was but a boy. Then he sat back in his chair with a merry twinkle in his eyes and watched carefully to see if I had brains enough to understand the full significance of what he had said to me. When he saw that I had grasped the idea, he asked if I would be willing to spend 20 years or more preparing myself to take it to the world, to men and women who, without the secret, might go through life as failures. I said I would, and with Mr. Carnegie's cooperation, I have kept my promise. This book contains the secret after having been put to practical test by thousands of people in almost every walk of life. It was Mr. Carnegie's idea that the magic formula, which gave him a stupendous fortune, ought to be placed within the reach of people who did not have time to investigate how people make money, and it was his hope that I might test and demonstrate the soundness of the formula through the experience of men and women in every calling. He believed the formula should be taught in all public schools and colleges, and expressed the opinion that if it were properly taught, it would so revolutionize the entire educational system that the time spent in school could be reduced to less than half. His experience with Charles M. Schwab and other young men of Mr. Schwab's type convinced Mr. Carnegie that much of that which is taught in the schools is of no value whatsoever in connection with the business of earning a living or accumulating riches. He had arrived at this decision because he had taken into his business one young man after another, many of them with but little schooling, and by coaching them in the use of this formula, he developed them in rare leadership. Moreover, his coaching made fortunes for every one of them who followed his instructions. In the chapter on faith, you will read the astounding story of the organization of the giant United States Steel Corporation, as it was conceived and carried out by one of the young men through whom Mr. Carnegie proved that his formula will work for all who are ready for it. This single application of the secret by that young man, Charles M. Schwab, made him a huge fortune in both money and opportunity. Roughly speaking, this particular application of the formula was worth $600 million. These facts, and they are facts well known to almost everyone who knew Mr. Carnegie, give you a fair idea of what the reading of this book may bring to you, provided you know what it is that you want. Even before it had undergone 20 years of practical testing, the secret was passed on to more than 100,000 men and women who have used it for their personal benefit, as Mr. Carnegie planned that they should. Some have made fortunes of it. Others have used it successfully in creating harmony with their homes. A clergyman used it so effectively that it brought him an income of upwards of $75,000 a year. Bearing in mind this was 100 years ago, so I would guess that was probably like 5 million now, perhaps more. Arthur Nash, a Cincinnati tailor, used his near-bankrupt business as a guinea pig on which to test the formula. The business came to life and made a fortune for its owners. It is still thriving, although Mr. Nash has gone. The experiment was so unique that newspapers and magazines gave it more than $1 million worth of laudatory publicity. The secret was passed on to Stuart Austin Weir of Dallas, Texas. He was ready for it, so ready that he gave up his profession and studied law. Did he succeed? That story is told too. I gave the secret to Jennings Randolph the day he graduated from college, and he has used it so successfully that he is now serving his third time as a member of Congress, with an excellent opportunity to keep on using it until it carries him to the White House. While serving as advertising manager of the LaSalle Extension University, when it was little more than a name, I had the privilege of seeing J.J. Chaplin, president of the university, use the formula so effectively that he has since made the LaSalle one of the great extension schools of the country. The secret to which I refer has been mentioned no fewer than 100 times throughout this book. It has not been directly named, for it seems to work more successfully when it is merely uncovered and left in sight, where those who are ready and searching for it may pick it up. Excuse me. I didn't get to sleep very much because of this storm. That is why Mr. Carnegie tossed it to me so quietly, without giving me its specific name. If you are ready to put it to use, you will recognize this secret at least once in every chapter. I wish I might feel privileged to tell you how you will know if you are ready, but that would deprive you of much of the benefit you will receive when you make the discovery in your own way. While this book was being written, my own son, who was then finishing the last years of his college work, picked up the manuscript of Chapter 2, read it, and discovered the secret for himself. He used the information so effectively that he went directly into a responsible position at a beginning salary greater than the average man ever earns. His story has been briefly described in Chapter 2. When you read it, perhaps you will discover any feelings you may have had at the beginning of the book that it promised too much. And two, if you have ever been discouraged, if you have ever had difficulties to surmount, which took the very soul out of you, if you have tried and failed, if you were ever handicapped by illness or physical affliction, the story of my son's discovery and the use of the Carnegie formula may prove to be the oasis in the desert of lost hope for which you have been searching. This secret was extensively used by President Woodrow Wilson during the World War. It was passed on to every soldier who fought in the war, carefully wrapped in the training received before going to the front. President Wilson told me it was a strong factor in raising the funds needed for the war. More than 20 years ago, Honorable Manuel Lelquezon, then Resident Commissioner of the Philippine Islands, was inspired by the secret to gain freedom for his people. He has gained freedom for the Philippines and is the first president of the Free State. A peculiar thing about the secret is that those who once acquire it and use it find themselves literally swept onto success with but little effort, and they never again submit to failure. If you doubt this, study the names of those who have used it, whether they have been mentioned, check their records for yourself, and be convinced. There is no such thing as something for nothing. The secret to which I refer cannot be had without a price, although the price is far less than its value. It cannot be had at any price by those who are not intentionally searching for it. It cannot be given away. It cannot be purchased for money, for the reason that it comes in two parts. One part is already in possession of those who are ready for it. The secret serves equally well all who are ready for it. Education has nothing to do with it. Long before I was born, the secret had found its way into the possession of Thomas A. Edison, and he used it so intelligently that he became the world's leading inventor, although he had but 3 months of schooling. That's just incredible. The secret was passed on to a business associate of Mr. Edison. He used it so effectively that, although he was then making only $12,000 a year, he accumulated a great fortune and retired from active business while still a young man. You will find his story at the beginning of the first chapter. It should convince you that riches are not beyond your reach, that you can still be what you wish to be, that money, fame, recognition, and happiness can be had by all who are ready and determined to have these blessings. How do I know these things? You should have the answer before you finish this book. You may find it in the very first chapter or on the last page. While I was performing the 20-year task of research, which I had undertaken at Mr. Carnegie's request, I analyzed hundreds of well-known people, many of whom admitted that they had accumulated their vast fortunes through the aid of the Carnegie secret. And among these men were Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, William Wrigley Jr. Oh, I wonder if that's the creator of the chewing gum, Thomas A. Edison, John Wanamaker, Frank A. Vanderlip, James Hill, Frank W. Woolworth, George S. Parker, Colonel Robert A. Dollar, E. M. Statler, Adam A. Feline, Henry L. Doherty, Edward C. Barnes. And by the way, these names probably would have been more familiar to us 100 years ago, but I would just listen out as I read these to see if you recognize any of them. Cyrus H. K. Curtis, Arthur Brisbane, George Eastman, Woodrow Wilson, President, Theodore Roosevelt, also a president, W. M. Howard Taft, John W. Davis, Luther Burbank, Albert Hubbard, Edward W. Bok, Wilbur Wright, I think the creator of the plane, Frank A. Munsey, William Jennings Bryan, Albert H. Gary, Dr. Demetted Starr Jordan, Dr. Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone, J. Ogden Amour, I wonder if he invented love, John A. Patterson, Charles M. Schwab, helped create the United States Steel Corporation, Julius Rosenwald, Harris F. Williams, Stuart Austin Weir, Dr. Frank Gonzalez, Dr. Frank Kane, Daniel Willard, George M. Alexander, King Gillette, J. G. Chaplin, Ralph A. Weeks, Honorable Jennings Randolph, Judge Daniel T. Wright, Arthur Nash, and Clarence Darrow. These names represent but a small fraction of the hundreds of well-known Americans whose achievements, financially and otherwise, prove that those who understand and apply the Carnegie secret reach high stations in life. I have never known anyone who was inspired to use the secret who did not achieve noteworthy success in their chosen calling. I have never known any person to distinguish themselves or to accumulate riches of any consequence without possession of the secret. From these two facts, I draw the conclusion that the secret is more important as a part of the knowledge essential for self-determination than any which one receives through what is popularly known as education. What is education anyway? This has been answered in full detail. As far as schooling is concerned, many of these men had very little. John Wanamaker once told me that what little schooling he had, he acquired it in very much the same manner as a modern locomotive takes on water, by scooping it up as it runs. Henry Ford never reached school, let alone college. I am not attempting to minimize the value of schooling, but I am trying to express my earnest belief that those who master and apply the secret will reach high stations, accumulate riches, and bargain with life on their own terms, even if their schooling has been meager. Somewhere, as you read, the secret to which I refer will jump from the page and stand boldly before you, if you are ready for it. When it appears, you will recognize it. Whether you receive the sign in the first or the last chapter, stop for a moment when it presents itself, and turn down a glass, for that occasion will mark the most important turning point of your life. We pass now to chapter 1, and to the story of my very dear friend, who has generously acknowledged having seen the mystic sign, and whose business achievements are evidence enough that he turned down a glass. Had a big shift, I think is another way of saying that. As you read his story and the others, remember that they deal with the most important problems of life, such as all people experience. The problems arising from one's endeavor to earn a living, to find hope, courage, contentment, and peace of mind, to accumulate riches, and to enjoy freedom of body and spirit. Remember, too, as you go through the book, that it deals with facts and not with fiction, its purpose being to convey great universal truth, through which all who are ready may learn, not only what to do, but also how to do it, and to receive, as well, the needed stimulus to make a start. As a final word of preparation, before you begin the first chapter, may I offer one brief suggestion, which may provide a clue by which the Carnegie secret may be recognized. It is this. All achievement, all earned riches have their beginnings in an idea. If you are ready for the secret, you already possess one half of it. Therefore, you will readily recognize the other half the moment it reaches your mind. Okay, I'm going to stop there today and come back here to the screen. I was tempted to keep going, but so many things came to me as I was reading that I wanted to share with you guys that I thought I should come back and we can start the first chapter next week. So, and hopefully I won't be the only one on. I do think it's more interesting for everyone watching as well when there's several of us. So if you are watching, I really urge you to just come out of your comfort zone and come into the Hangout. I know sometimes it's a bit scary, and I really applaud everyone who's already taken that leap and actually come onto the Hangout. I was really nervous the first time I ever did a Hangout. Now I've got used to it, and you'll get used to it actually. You know, if you don't have to come on every day, but you realize that there's actually something really powerful about being just going a little bit out of your comfort zone. And so with this first chapter, or this preface, the things I wanted to share, that it's so interesting because I've listened to the audiobook of Think and Grow Rich 2 times, I think, over a year ago when I was living in quite a bad living situation. And I'd heard so many people talk about this book that I thought, well, okay, I didn't like the title of it before that. I thought, like, I don't want to think all the time, because I'd I've been doing a lot of things where it was about, talk to the universe and don't be in your logical mind, like just be in the flow of life. And so this book title seemed to me to be a bit kind of going backwards, always thinking and being stuck in your mind. But after hearing, countless successful entrepreneurs that I had surrounded myself with talk about it, I thought, well, they must know something more than I do, because they have a much better situation than I do right now. I was living in a tiny 74 square foot studio, 24 square meters for Europeans, which is very small, basically. And so I bought the audiobook, which is really old-fashioned. And by the way, one of our members in the Facebook group, a voice actor, has very kindly shared an audio version of the book. Tracy, if you're watching, shout out to you. Ask in the comments about that, and either he or I will make sure you can get access to it, because his version is much more modern and easier to listen to. So I had a really old-fashioned version, and I remember listening to it and thinking, yeah, okay, whatever, I've heard this before. And I wasn't that impressed, to be honest. But then what happened for me was I listened to a telecall that one of my friends now, a wonderful guy called Paul Hutchings, that you can follow on Facebook or on the internet. He does a telecall called Think and Grow Rich every morning in American time, early morning American time. And this was middle of the afternoon for me, so I kept missing it. But I did listen in a few times, and the energy was so powerful because there was a few people calling in. It wasn't just him, and they were sharing experiences. He was sharing his own experiences, and he shared how this book had changed his life. And I talk about this a lot, but just because I think so many people need to know this. He was living in a trailer van, unable to barely pay his bills, just been landed with a huge bill for his son's medical work, and he didn't know how he was going to pay for it, because in America, I'm not sure where you're watching this, but in America people have to have insurance or pay very high bills, and he had just stopped his insurance because he couldn't pay it anymore. And he had a bill of $51,000 to help his son, who had been born with some kind of handicap with his bones, and he just didn't know what to do. And so he went out and prayed and asked God to help him figure out a solution. And the sense that he got was he should become a student of this book, and so he did. And today, this was, I think, like 9 years ago. He became a real student of it, I think, like 4 years ago. And his life has changed so quickly. Now I came across him because he made a video of him buying his first house. When he first became a student, he was living in a trailer, which is like a mobile home. If you're European, it's like a really small caravan. It's not a great way to live. And so his story made me think, well, there must be more to this book, and it just really touched me. Every time I talk about it, I get teary-eyed. I seem to be quite emotional at the moment. um, so his story touched me, and I decided to do these hangouts. And I've just noticed that the more I read from this book, the more the more I get a really strong sense of how powerful it is, and the more people I meet who've used it too, which I think is really funny. It's like the universe saying, listen to this book. It's really helped a lot of people. And so Napoleon says in that preface, and by the way, when I get teary-eyed, don't worry, I'm not like a. It's just it's like this energy is so strong that your eyes just have to show it. And I'm not actually sad. It's like this gratitude. Oh no, I shouldn't have said that because it's coming back now. But anyway, Napoleon says, and this frustrated me the first time I read it, because he's like, I haven't written the secret outright. You just have to read the book. Oh, hi, Benjamin. All right, crying away here. He says you have to you'll just get it when you get it, when you read the book. And so I just wanted to share how that happened for me, because I think it's like you're reading the book or you're listening to the reading of it, and suddenly you hear something which just ignites like this. It's like you know that you can do it too. Is the best way I can describe it. And it's not even like one particular thing, like a secret. It's more like this fire. So maybe you have to read it like 2 times or 3 times. Oh dear. Hang on, I'm just going to look in the chat and see what Ben has written. Oh, and now my connection's gone. That's funny. Yeah, so you might not get it the first time, but the second or the third time, something will happen. And you'll just feel like, well, if those people could do it, there's no reason why I can't. So I think that's why it's really important to keep reading it and not just just read it once and think, oh, that didn't really do much. Bob Proctor, the guy that I follow, and you can follow him on Facebook. He's on YouTube. He does all kinds of stuff. He used to carry the book around in his pocket, and he would have it with him all the time. So and he's now become multi-millionaire, inspiring literally thousands of people all over the world to know that they can change their lives as well. So just become a student of this. As Napoleon's saying in the preface, realize that this is based on hundreds of interviews and a lifetime of work. 25 years, not just like one guy's ideas. This is literally based on practical stories and research. So I think that's what makes it so powerful. And I love that he lists all those people in that list, because it gives you just a little glimpse into all the people that have applied what he's talking about. And in fact, I can add to that. I think I know, and I've now met probably, I would say, like 15 people who could go on that list today. In my area, I work on the internet, so they're all kind of online. But whatever you do, I'm sure if you seek people out, you'll find people that have applied it. Oh, and I can get. Oh, Benjamin says I'll have to watch the whole video to know why you're crying. I don't really know why, actually. I just think when I think about how I used to feel, and I think how much things have changed, it just makes me really grateful. Uh-oh, I'm going to go off again. Okay, so, oh, we have someone coming in. Lauren. Oh, hey, Lauren. Oh, you're muted.
Hello.
If you're muted, you can actually unmute yourself. Oh, there you are. Yay! Hey!
How you going?
I'm good, thank you. Oh, great to see you.
It's nice to be able to actually talk to you.
Yeah, right. Everyone, Lauren is down in Australia, or up in Australia, depending on where you are in the world. To me, it's down under. um, what time is it for you there, Lauren?
It's 7:45 in the evening.
Okay. You're quite quiet, by the way.
Am I?
I don't know if
Turn up the
that's...
volume maybe, or
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, it could just be my end. So I'm interested to know, actually, have you read the book before, Lauren?
no, I haven't actually. I haven't done my homework.
Oh, no, but don't worry. It's not homework. You don't have to read it before you come. That's the point of the Hangout, is that people who, even if you've read it before, we read literally from the book, so you can read it as you're watching. So there's no, I really don't want people to feel like there's a homework or anything. You can, just showing up and listening and watching is going to get you the book. Often what I've noticed happening is people start to want to read it as well, after the Hangout, or they just get into it. So you don't have to read it before.
Okay.
Actually, like, what happens is people can actually read from the book. We screen share. So I've put a video in the Facebook group to explain how to do that if people want to do that. It doesn't have to be me reading, for example. In fact, I like it when it's other people reading, because for a while I never used to read because we had like so many people coming on. But various people have moved, changed time zones, so it being the summer. Um, yeah, so
Yeah, it's quite cold actually.
quite cold.
Quite cold. I'm in my hoodie. Try to keep
Oh
warm.
yeah, I know. It's funny because here it's like summertime. So yeah, cool. And how did you like come across the book, Lauren? Was it from through me on Facebook or was it through something
Yeah,
else?
through you. All through you.
Okay. Yeah.
If I change my tabs, does that change my screen? I'm
Your
completely new
screen
to
is
this.
good. It was just that you're not particularly loud, but I think that could be your. Are you on a PC or a MacBook, Lauren?
I'm on a MacBook, yeah.
You're on a MacBook. Oh, me too. Okay.
My
I mean, it's
volume
not.
is up.
Yeah. Okay, that's strange. You might just have to speak a little bit louder. Um, and you've got a metronome in the background.
I do actually.
Oh, I
That's
play the
my.
piano, so is that a piano?
It is.
Oh, it's a
That's my
piano.
office.
Oh, cool. Ah, do you play?
I teach actually. Yeah, that's my
You teach?
office
Oh,
where I teach my
wow.
students. So.
Ah, I love it. I love that I just spotted that. I play the piano. Actually, Lauren, that's funny you should, because when you learnt the piano, you probably applied something that Napoleon talks a lot about in the books, which, because
Okay.
I started playing the piano when I was 9 years old, and I played to the age of 18, and every day for like 9 years. And I
A good
think when
effort.
I read the book, I was like, oh my God, that was my first experience in life of applying what he's talking about. Like when you just you have this burning desire, and he'll talk about it in the book. Don't worry if you don't really know what I'm talking about. But the he shares a lot as we go through the book that many of the entrepreneurs he interviewed, they just didn't give up, and they were very persistent, and they continually like applied what they were doing. They became masters of what they did, and I think you have to do that when you learn an instrument. It's a really good way to build that muscle, because you can't just play the piano one day and then play again like 2 months later. When you're learning,
No.
you won't learn very quickly. And I think that's you'll probably see some similarities between what you did as to learn the piano and what we read in the book.
Yeah, there is a lot of discipline in the practice as well
Yeah.
as
How long have
persistence
you
as
been
well.
playing?
Sorry?
How long have you been playing?
Since I was 4, and I'm 27 now, so 23, 24 years.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It sounds impressive, but I haven't played every day like you have, so yeah, don't feel.
Well, yeah, but I only did that for like, well, I stopped. I haven't played every day since I was 18. I hardly play now because I don't have a piano anymore. I'm going to buy one though eventually, a grand piano. Um,
That'd be
yeah.
nice to have.
So how often do you play?
Supposed to be every day, but like I try to, but yeah, it doesn't always happen. There's just too many other
Yeah,
things that get in the way as well. Life happens, I guess, but yeah, I
right.
try to play every day, but that's what my teacher tells me to. That's what I tell my kids as well.
Ah, okay. Oh, oh, cool. Well, we're coming up to time here, so just so lovely to see you on here, to see a new face, and to see
Yeah.
Benjamin. Even though I know you're at work, Benjamin. He's like, hi, I was just working away. um, so the main things to take away from the reading today are just to know um, that what Napoleon teaches isn't just theory. He studied people first for 20 years and then wrote about it. He built this philosophy, and he's sharing how many people have used it successfully, and he's also saying that he doesn't have like one paragraph in the book where he's like, this is the secret. It's actually a case of like going through the book and having that aha moment where you're like, oh my God, I can do this, like I was just describing. And I guarantee that you'll have that, and then you'll be like, okay, like the way it happened for me was like, oh my God, I can do this, and I'm not giving up until I do. And like you become like a dog with a bone. You're like, it's like once I saw that I could do I didn't have to live in a perpetual struggle like I had always been accustomed to growing up uh, my whole adult life. And I was like, and I'd even studied, why are so many people in poverty and struggling? It always seemed strange to me ever since I was a child. And I went the route of like, okay, we need to change poverty. And I studied poverty at university, was an activist against it, did campaigns, until I got really ill and realized, hang on, I'm always angry and sad. And I started to like do personal development, and I realized, well, what we focus on expands. And I began to develop the mindset that actually the problem isn't that we don't distribute things well enough. The problem is that more people don't realize there's unlimited resources. Most people are living in such a scarcity mindset and like fighting over the scraps. And actually what you can do is you don't have to like fight over the scraps, you can just create masses of new scraps. And so this book can help you do that and become like the change you want to see. And I want to see more people not living like that, because it's just not a way to live. And I dream of young people not having to go through that like so many of us have had to do. So reading this book will just help connect to that and be able to do it for everyone who watches. So I'm not even sure how I got onto this long tangent, but thank you for both of you for coming out. And also just to say there won't be a hangout until Wednesday now, because my dog and I and a friend are road tripping to Portugal, which is West Europe. It's like as far in Europe as you can get without getting on the Atlantic and going to America. Because some people I realize don't know where it is. It's next to Spain.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Is there anything you wanted to share before we finish, Lauren or Benjamin?
I don't actually have the book open. I should probably do that, shouldn't I?
Oh, sorry. 1 second. Chico? Yeah, my friend just came home. Sorry, what did you say, Lauren?
I don't actually have the book open at the minute. Which book is it exactly?
It's in the files section of the Facebook
files
group.
Yep.
And it's it's just one PDF. It's all in one go. Like the lecture notes were all kind of spread out, but the book is one file.
At the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. It will be one of the first things there, because I think it was the first thing I ever uploaded. So you can download that and have it as a free book. Chico. Sorry, 1 second. Chico. Yesi. I'm sorry. My dog is being territorial. My housemate lady just came home. Okay, I better go, guys. Thanks so much for coming out. Great to see you. And Lauren, if you can't find the book or download it for any reason, just let me know. Okay?
I've just got it now.
Oh, you got it. Cool. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, have a great day, everyone. We've got people watching all over the place now. I can see on the stats. Great to see you all. And actually, I should say this before we finish. From next week, it's actually going to be an hour later, because I'm going to explain in the Facebook group. It'll be an hour later than it has been. It will still be the same time if you're in Central Europe. Oh no, it won't. It will be like 12:15. So I'm going to post the local times in the Facebook group. But basically, where I'm moving to, it's on a different time zone, and I'm too much of a night owl to go back an hour. So I'm going to just move it forwards to 12:15. So I actually think it might be better, because it would be lunchtime for Europeans, and some people will be able to like go and listen on their lunch break, which I know they can't do now. And hopefully for Australians, not too late. Cool. So thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. And just remember that you can, oh yeah, this is the last thing he said. All achievement have their beginnings in the seed of an idea. Haha. Have a great one.
Good luck with the move, Sandy. Hope it all goes well.
So much. I'm excited. Oh my God, this is my last hangout from France. Sorry, Beth. I know that you're still in Paris. And France is great. I'm looking forward to being in a new culture. Bye, everyone.